Sketchbooks.
Illustrations by me.
So you know my favorite art supply ever, of any art supply I've ever had, Sketchbooks. I love paper. And Sketchbooks is paper. That's a part of it. So when ARRTX first sent me their sketchbook, and I said, oh yeah, this is the one you peel off. You can tear pages out very easily. It's an easy tear. It's wonderful. I've used it several times here on the channel. I enjoy it. They wanted to send me 2 more. So they did. These are some loud sketchbooks. Have you ever seen these before? These are, no, you don't see it on that side. That's the back. Don't look at the back. These are the sketchbooks here. They're a little loud. The patterns on them are bright and colorful and wonderful. And if you don't like that, if you're someone who doesn't like a bright, colorful sketchbook, you can paint over it. Don't worry about it. But the point, I didn't even tear off the plastic yet. I want to experience this with you. I have a cold press and a hot press. The bigger one is a hot press. The smaller one is a cold press. This one is, I don't know millimeters. I'm millimeter impaired. So we have a 139 millimeter by 139 millimeter. That's the cold press. We're gonna say that's, hold on, let me figure this out. 5.5 inches, so it's 5.5 by 5.5. Let's see if that's actually true. Let's see if that's the case. So it's 5.5 by 5.5, wonderful. It's a little bigger, but you have the cover and that's how that works. So that's 5.5 by 5.5 here, which I love that. When you open this up, you have an 11 by 5.5. So you have a landscape if you go across both pages. Wonderful. That's something I love about the square sketchbooks. I think square sketchbooks are my favorite orientation, my favorite size of orientation, because the long landscape ones, they're nice too to do something on one page. Or you flip it over and you got to go across both pages. That's a long drawing. So that's not for every day for me. I do that once in a while. I just wouldn't do it every day. Then you have the other one here, which is 148 by 210 millimeters, which is roughly a 6 by 8. It's like 5.8 inches by 8.26 inches. So it's close. It's like an 8 by 6 just about. But I'm used to something this size. I've used Etcher sketchbooks. I've used Stillman & Burns sketchbooks. This is a standard size that I've used of these like this. So when you open it up, you have almost a 12 by 8 on this one. So it's a big, when you open double page spread, it's pretty big, but that's okay. I usually do something on one side when I do have the sketchbook like this, but sometimes I like to go across and leave white space. You'll see. I'm not going to probably do that in this one, but I'm going to do something. These, I'm going to open them up. I want to show you the texture. That's my number one thing, is I wanted to see the texture that was in these books, because usually when you have a hot press sketchbook, it can be soft. You know, the ones that I've used before, like the Etcher hot press sketchbook, and I also have used some Fluid 100 watercolor paper in hot press sketchbook, but the hot press is usually a little soft. So what I mean by that is when you draw on it with a pen, especially a fountain pen or anything like that, sometimes it scratches the page. So I want to see what oh, okay. Okay. So this one is just like the other one, but it's bound. So it has that, can you see that where it has the drop off here? So it's bound up here, but this cover is not bound to it. It sits like this. Oh, this is, yeah, so these have tear off sheets. They're perforated here, but they are bound. So can you see the binding in here? They're bound. This other one is not bound. It's just glued in and you can tear it out. So that's the difference. This is a bound. You can leave it whole if you want, or you can take it out if you want. Wow, this is the hot press. There's a little bit of texture in here. That is not necessarily a hot press texture. Oh, that's interesting. And it looks like, my goodness, the signatures are, so a lot of times you have a group of pages put together, and then They sew them down the middle, and then they close them, then they flip them over, and then they put another section with a bunch of pages put together and sew it in. It's called a signature. That group of pages there is a signature. This one looks like, I think they sewed every single individual page. So there's binding here. You flip it over, there's not, because that was one page front and back. Then this is a page front and back, and there's binding again. So it looks like every signature is only one page, or 2 pages because it's folded in half. But one page. I don't think I've ever seen a company do that before. It's going to hold up really good is what it's going to do. It's going to hold together very well because every page is sewn in place. It's just, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. So this is going to, that means every 2 pages you can go across without having a seam in the gutter. So that center section there is like a gutter. So every other page you will have a gutter. If you go in between the sheet, you'll have one page, and then you'll have a little gutter here with a seam in it. But then the next one, flat across again. You can go straight across, and you just have the binding to go across. That's very interesting. That's something that I've never seen any other book do. Okay, I'm assuming this one's going to be the same way. I really have never seen that before, ever, from any company. So that'll be very interesting. I'm going to, now I always take, and I don't know if you do this, but I always take, I'll take the name here, and then I'll probably cut the middle section out, and then this is all the dimensions and what kind of book it is, 100% cotton, highly absorbent, color lifting, color press. It says all those things here, and then it has the size. And the GSM, by the way, 300 GSM on these. So you ask anybody and they'll give you a different answer. And I don't care, don't do it. You're gonna go down below and type in, oh, 300 GSM is this many pounds. It's not. It's different in every book, I promise you. How do I know that? Because I have several books that say, one will say this GSM, but this pounds, and then the next book says this GSM, which is less, but more pounds. How can that be? Don't even pretend like you're gonna be my friend on that. The point, it's roughly, it feels like 140 pound is what it feels like. So that's what I'm gonna say that it is. But someone's gonna be, oh no, this is what it is. Shut up. It's not the case, I promise you. Okay, I found it. I'm gonna prove this to you. I'm not crazy. This is from Hahnemühle. This is or Hahnemühle. I'm gonna get beat in the comments for saying the name wrong. Anyway, the point is, this one here says 200 GSM, 96 pound paper. This one is from Canson that says 98 pound paper at 160 GSM. So how can 200 pound paper be 96 GSM if 160 pound paper is 98 pound GSM? That's what I'm talking about. Don't tell me that you know what that GSM versus pound conversion is, because it's wrong. Whatever it is, it's either it's wrong or these people are wrong. You write a letter to them and you tell them that they're wrong. Anyway, I'm going with 140 pound paper for these. Okay, I'm just gonna bring this up, maybe just this one more time. So Google even gets this whole GSM thing wrong. They said that 300 pound GSM is 111 pound paper. But the B paper company says that their 300 GSM is 140 pound paper, which I think that's what I've always heard. 300 GSM is 140 pound. But then there's a paperweight conversion calculator that says for every 1 pound, it's 1.48 GSM. So the 300 gram would be like 202 pound paper. Nobody knows it's a myth. The whole thing is a myth. No one knows the actual conversion of a GSM to a pound paper. So when a company only gives you the GSM, you don't know what the pound paper is. You just don't. You can say all the conversions you want. You can say traditionally it's this, or traditionally it's that, or it's normally this, but every paper company has a different idea. And even the companies that do paper. This one, that paperweight conversion was from soloprinting.com. It's a printing company. They should know the weights of paper because they're trying to sell that, so they should know it. But even they're wrong. Or maybe they're right. I have no idea. Nobody knows. It's just whatever the GSM, you can say whatever number you want for the pound paper, and that's what it is. I believe this is 140 pound paper because it acts like and feels like 140 pound paper, but I don't actually know. It's 300 GSM. That's what I know. One thing I do like about these books, though, let's talk about the cover for a second. So the cover is actually, this cover is, if you don't like this, I think you can cut it off because you can, it has the pouch on the outside. Can you see that? The pouch is there. It's this colorful cover here is a pouch on the outside. And it's sewn into, or glued rather, glued into just under this first outside page binding here. So, not binding, you know what I mean, the outside page cover. So, can you see where the, can you see that at all? Where that little line is, where it kind of goes, anyway, it doesn't matter. You could probably cut this right off if you didn't like that color, and then this is what your book would look like, which I think is, I really like that they're colored. So, and this one too, yeah, same thing. You have the little pouch there. That's what it, yeah. So you can put stuff in there. For people who like pouches, does it have a pouch in the back? No pouch in the back. So that's what it is. It's the pouch in the front, not in the back. So you can put some, that may be where it belongs. People are putting dirty crap inside their sketchbooks. They're putting leaves and things that they pick up off the ground, sticks and stuff, and they're putting it in their sketchbook. The dirt's getting all over the inside of the envelope, and then it's getting moldy in there. Don't do that. You put it on the outside. They know what they're doing here. So same thing. Oh, it's the same book. Okay, this is same thing. When I look at it, it has that same binding just like that. Let's see if every... Wow, that is some rough watercolor paper. I'm going to love this watercolor paper. I love rough watercolor paper. And it doesn't look... Yeah, oh, it's so different from page to page. Oh, okay, I see. So I guess the top side of the page is very rough on this, on the top one side. Then you flip it open and it's a lot smoother. It almost looks like, hold on. Yeah, so every other page in this one that says cold press, every other page is very similar to the hot press, and it alternates hot and cold. So you have the hot press, the cold press here, and then you flip it over. On the inside where it's bound, you have, it's not really, it has texture to it. It's not really hot press. It's just less cold press. You're talking serious grain on the outside, and then on the inside where it's sewn, not as much. There's still cold press. There's still a lot of texture. And then you flip the page, and where you have that gutter with the seam and the glue, you have really, really rough paper. And it doesn't look, you know, I always look at pages and I don't like when I see machined paper. I hate machined cold press paper. I don't like it. It has like a repeating pattern in it. This does not, and even if it did, even if it is a machine, it's made to look like it's not. It has a lot of texture, and it looks random. Yeah, it definitely looks random. I can't see a pattern in it, so I'm going to say that there's not a pattern in here. And I don't think, when I use it, I'm going to see how it looks, because usually when you use it, you can tell a little bit more. But then the back, completely smooth the way that it is, I'm going to say it's not completely smooth. You know what I mean? It has the texture, just not as much. And that's where it's sewn. So that's very interesting. I'm going to have a lot of fun in this book. I'm going to be able to do both things that I want to do. Now, this is just a cover page, just a flimsy cover page, but it makes it to cover your work. That's what it is. You wouldn't paint on this. This is just a piece of paper. You could probably draw on it, but I wouldn't paint on it. And then starts the book. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do a painting in each one. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something that I would normally do in cold press in here. Hey, look at that. It says watercolor sketchbook right there in the gold letters, ARRTX in the back. Then you have the same thing on this one. It has the gold letters here, ARRTX in the back. So thank you, ARRTX, for sending these to me. I'm going to do 2 of these in here, and let's see how that works. Let's get into this. Okay, quickly. Some of you asked about the brush pens that I use, and I use the Pentel Pocket Brush for most of the time for the brush pens. I use some other ones, but I do use these and I fill them with my own ink. So when you get, this is an anniversary edition, but this is very pretty. You see that? Yeah, this is some kind of anniversary edition. But anyway, when you get it, it's a regular bristle brush. So you see the bristles, they separate on there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they separate. There's real bristles, individual bristles. This happens to be a finer point. When you unscrew this here, you have nothing. There's nothing there. But they come with these little cartridges. They're non-refillable cartridges. They're not supposed to look like a fountain pen. Let me show you. This is what a fountain pen cartridge looks like, and it has this little device inside. Can you see that little device inside that sucks up the ink as you turn it? And it goes this way. It sucks up all the ink into it, and then you have a cartridge. That's what the cartridge looks like. But the Pentel Pocket Brush comes with its own cartridge. It's a single-use cartridge, supposed to be. I don't use them for single use because I use them all the time. Anyway, what I do is I take the end of the pen, the part with the brush, and puncture right there. I just puncture it open, and then I wash out all of the ink that's inside here, so you have an empty cartridge here. And then I fill it with one of these syringe things, one of these ink syringes, and I fill it with my own ink. I use, usually, in these pens, my favorite ink to use is the Dr. P.H. Martin Bombay India Ink Black. I don't use the Black Star one. I don't use the matte one. I just use the regular black ink from P.H. Martin Bombay India Ink, and I absolutely love it. And that's what I put in these. You'll see this one here already has that filled up in here. See that one in there has that. That's what I put in there. And then you just pop it back on, and you have, this is a very large cartridge, so you have quite a bit of ink in there that will last you some time. Of course, you have to let it flow down a little bit, and that's a fine tip too. They are fine tips, so very fine on these brushes. But anyway, after you do that and you fill it up and you put it in, you screw it back on, you put it back together, and then you just let it sit like this for a little while in the cap. Just let it go like this, and then just let the ink kind of flow down to here, and then you'll be able to use it whenever. Just make sure that all the ink flows down here. And just a little tip, after I'm done washing this out, I usually take a cotton swab, a Q-tip, and stick it in there all the way down just to get all the moisture out of it. That way when I put the ink in, it isn't watered down. It doesn't really matter for the first time you use it. The ink's a little bit watery. Just a little bit of moisture inside there from being rinsed out is not going to hurt anything. I've used it before. But I usually put the cotton swab in there to dry it out, just so I know it's only ink in there. Okay, so just so you know, when I did the washi tape, I taped up to the dotted line, to the perforation. In case I ever want to tear this thing out, sell it, or frame it, or put it up on a wall or something, then I can tear it out there and it'll be evenly spaced on the sides. I didn't want to go to the inside of the gutter and then it's going to be off with where the seam is compared to the other side. So I didn't do that. So that's why it looks like it's a little off center. It's because it's up to the seam. Now, I will say this about this cold press watercolor book. I originally said that it's a lot smoother. It's not as smooth as I said. I'm looking at this a lot closer, and I was comparing it to all the other papers that I have. And the back side, or the signature side, where I said it's a little bit smoother, it is smoother. It's the front side, I would say, is like a rough watercolor paper, and it is not patterned. It did not act like a machined watercolor paper. It acted like a mold-made watercolor paper. So the texture is a little random. It works very nicely. It works just like I like. It's rough, and that's what I like about it. It's rough, and I love rough paper. But I also like the smoother papers. But the backside, where the signature is, that is more. It's the closest thing I can find is B Paper's cold press paper. So the B Company's cold press paper looks like what the backs of these are. So you have a rough page, and then you have a cold press page, and then you have a rough page and a cold press page. You switch through. It's very interesting. Now, if you'll have the same texture facing each other, so if you did something across, you're gonna have the same texture. But when you switch to the other side of the page, you flip it over, now you have two sides of the other texture. So I think this is a win. I'm very excited about this book, and I think it's a win for what it can do. Now, I went ahead just to show you. I did take off the little envelope that was in the front of this one. I don't use them anyway. I don't use envelopes. I don't do that. But I did take it off so that you can at least see this is what your sketchbook would look like if you took off the little envelope. It's just a little colored, just a single solid color with that sparkle in it. That little bit of, I guess, mica that's built into the plastic or something. It's pretty. I like it. And then the other one I left on. I just left it on just to show you. So there's a pocket there. And you can leave it on or take it off or whatever you want to do if you don't like the design on the front. A lot of people like that. A lot of people like their sketchbooks to look unique. This is definitely unique. You will not find another sketchbook that has this kind of pattern on the front. So that's wonderful. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Either way, you can be happy and still use this sketchbook. Now the hot press paper has texture on it. It's not completely smooth. It's not like a plate finish. It's not like that. It just has a subtle texture to it, and it is enough that I don't see like the hard edges like I would see sometimes with other hot press papers. Sometimes you get a hard edge. Also, when I went over this with the pen, you see I'm using a fountain pen on this book. I'm using the fountain pen. And nothing scratched the paper. It's not soft paper. So a lot of the hot press, I think I mentioned this before, a lot of the hot press paper is soft. It's like fluffy almost. So when you dig into it with a pen, you're scribbling along with a pen, it tears into it a little bit. This, nothing happened. There was no damage to the paper at all. It's not a fluffy paper. It's just a smoother paper. It is smoother than the other side of the other book. It is definitely smoother than that. And I had no problem. I put some lines in here. I was putting some fine lines, some small lines. I didn't have any trouble with it. But it's textured enough that if you have a dry brush, you can get the dry brush effect. And that's what I wanted to show you in that painting. I was listening to Pink Floyd's Mudmen song, The Mudmen. And I said, what is a mudman? And then I drew the thing that I drew. Don't worry about that. The point is, I tested all the things that when I saw that there's a little bit of texture, I'm like, I wonder if I can get a dry brush effect with that. So I knew that pen was a little bit drier, just going. So let's see if I can get some, and I did. I was able to get the dry brush effect on it, and it looked exactly as I wanted it to look. Or I could put in some solid lines like I did with the fountain pen, and there was no skipping, there was no stuttering, everything was fine. That pen writes very smooth, by the way. That Lamy, that's probably the most smooth flowing Lamy I've ever used. And I have the Lamy Safari, and then I have another Lamy somewhere, the different kind of it looks like a regular pen almost, but it's a Lamy. And those two, they don't write the same way. This one writes very well. I was very shocked by that. I'll have a link for that down in the description as well. But I highly recommend these books. If you are someone who, unless you're someone who needs like a plate finish, then I would not say that this is it for you. But if you like something that's smooth, that you can write with pen smoothly, but just has a slight amount, I mean, you can see just a slight amount of texture. It feels almost like a fine grain texture. And that's what it feels like. But it's, so you could probably use color pencil on here. You could probably definitely use marker on here, of course. It will go through because it's 300 GSM paper. But I think it would, but that's some thick paper. But I'm sure it'll go through. It might not go to the second page, but it'll go through. If you have the brush paint pens, you could use those on here without a problem. That won't go through. Ink, not a problem. Ink brush pens, not a problem. I don't see anything, water-soluble pencils or something like that, not a problem at all. You can use pencil on here. You could use pen. It's really, it's very nice. I enjoy it. And on this one, what I'm seeing is, I think they're the same texture on the front and back on this one. It looks to be the exact same texture. Yeah, I think so. So, front and back on the hot press one, same texture on both sides of the paper. Cold press has the two different textures, which I enjoy. I really like this. I think this is going to be my sketchbook for a while. I know it's a little bit smaller, but I think it's going to be my sketchbook for a while when I want to do something, because I always look for that rough paper, I do. And then if I want to do something else, I have the next page over, and it's a little bit smoother, and I can still do, it's similar. It's really not, it's rougher than the hot press. I said that. But still, it's like an in-between. It's not rough. It's not rough paper. But it would be considered cold press. It looks just like the B paper, which I have right here. And I put it up to there, and it looks the same kind of texture as the cold press on the B paper. So you have, it's not like the cold press on like an Arches, where, yes, that's exactly what I said. But on that paper, you know, their cold press is very rough compared to most others. But this cold press is much rougher than anybody else's cold press that I've seen, maybe with the exception of theirs. And it does have a different texture. That's what my biggest fear, was that I was going to see like a machined pattern. And I don't see that here. It looks very rough. It looks like a rough paper. And I like that. So, big fan of this book. Big fan of this book. It worked wonderfully. I used it exactly how I wanted to. And I did a wash on the outside of the Mudman. And it did not act like a lot of hot press acts, where it kind of builds up these hard edges. I even intentionally put a little bit more concentrated in, and then just kind of watered around it. Because sometimes when you do that on other hot press paper, when you put in the concentrated, it forms a hard edge. When you smear it out, then you see that little outline. There's no outline. It's just, you can see where there's a little bit heavier paint, but there's no outline. There's no defined line like there is with a lot of other hot press. So I think that's a plus. For me, it's a plus. That for how I use it, it's a plus. So I don't know, you have to decide if it's a plus for you. And quickly, I never mention everything that I use in the video. I always just put the links down below, but then always someone is not looking down there and they say, hey, what was that thing you used? So in this, I have a list here. This is what I used. Of course, I used the ARRTX sketchbooks, because that's what the video's about. You know that. I don't have to tell you those things. The Pentel Pocket Brush, I used an original black one, and then I used a special anniversary one that I think it was called Waves or something like that. I will put the link down below for that. But it just has a different pattern on the outside. It's the exact same pen, and it worked the exact same way. That black one I have had for more years than I can remember. I think I've had that pen for 6, 7, maybe 8 years that I've had that pen, and it has never stopped working. I just keep, and it's the same cartridge I put in. I just pop it out, rinse it out, put more ink in it, pop it back in, and there you go. Once in a while I change, no, it's not true. I do change the cartridge sometimes. If it gets sticky around the edge where you're putting it in, the paint, the ink dries around that. I don't want to keep jamming it onto the pen. So after that, but it might only be the second one in 8 years that I've switched out. But they work wonderful. The Lamy Vista, it's called a demonstrator pen because you can see in it to see how much ink you have left. So they call it a demonstrator pen. I love demonstrators. I think the Moonmans were my favorite. Then they had to change their name because of, I'm not going to say their name right on purpose because I'm angry at them. Coeco. How about that? How about I say Coeco instead of Kaweco? But that's okay. They are the ones that made Moonman change their name to Mahjong or whatever they changed their name to. But I liked the Moonman pens, and I think you can still find a couple under that name. It's just not very often. So inside the brush pen only, listen to me please. If you are using a fountain pen, do not put India ink in it. Don't use the Bombay India ink, the P.H. Martin's. Stay away from it. Don't use it. It will kill your pen. It will clog up because it's actual pigment in there. It's not just a dye-based ink. It's a pigment-based ink. And the little particles will get stuck in the feed and you'll ruin the pen. Don't do that. But in a brush pen, you can. So in the brush pen, I always put the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India ink, the black. I have the high carb and I have the matte one. I just never use those. I use the straight regular black from the regular set. It's a little less expensive, and I like it. I think for me, it's just as jet black, it's just as nice, and it's solid. I like it. Now in the Lamy, I use the carbon black ink. Now I know it says carbon black. It is designed for fountain pens. There are no particles in there. It's just called carbon black. but it's absolutely a wonderful ink. I've used it for years in fountain pens, never have a problem. Matter of fact, I've put it in a fountain pen that I've left for 2 years and then pulled it out and had to replace the ink, but it still wrote just fine. It only had a little bit left in it and it kind of dried up in the cartridge thing. It didn't matter. It was just, as soon as I rinsed it, and it reactivates with water, so it doesn't activate on the page with water. I mean, when you're cleaning it with a little bit of soap and water, it's fine. It'll clean out. And then you just use the pen like normal, it's fine. I've heard people have horror stories with it, tell me that they have had horror stories with it after I've been using it for years and I've never had a problem with it. So don't listen to me. If there's anything you know in life, it's that you should not listen to me. Then I use the Pentel Aquash water brush. For some reason, I don't know why, that brush works the best for me. All the other water brushes, that's the one that works. The other ones I can use, I'm not as comfortable use it. I know when that brush is going to be a little dry, when it's going to be a little bit more wet. I know how to just increase the moisture just a little bit so I can use it if it starts to dry out, or I know how to dry it out and use it as a dry brush. It works well for me. The other ones I do struggle with. Everybody struggles with water brushes. I struggle with some other ones, but not that one. That one's easy for me. And I used my current Daniel Smith palette for this painting of the Mudman and for the background on the cold press paper. Those are just my standard Daniel Smith, my regular, and I'll have all the paints that are in that palette listed below as well. Those are the colors I use. It's my Daniel Smith and Core. That's what I have in there, and that's what I used. And one of the greatest things, I love when these companies put together these books. They're very inexpensive compared to many other ones on the market, and they're very good quality. So they're 100% cotton. They're the thicker 300 GSM paper. They work well, and they're fun to use, and you can afford them. That's a wonderful thing. You know, years ago, books were not easily available. They just weren't. You would look for a cotton watercolor book, and if you found one, it was very expensive. Now, cotton watercolor books are everywhere, and some, like these, are excellent quality. You can find them for an excellent price, and it's just something that has come so far, and I've just learned to really appreciate that you can go, if you need a sketchbook, you can get one, and it's not difficult to find, it's not difficult to afford, and that's very important to me. Just like these people popping up on the screen here, they're very important to me too, and you can ask them. I tell them that. I hope they know that, because I try to tell them as often as I possibly can. All right, so thumb up the video if you are going to take a look at these ARRTX sketchbooks, because I'm telling you, I'm a paper snob. That's one thing I am. I'm not easy to please with paper. And they've done very well. Their other one that they sent me, that one was great for a non-cotton paper. And this one is absolutely exceptional for a cotton paper. I absolutely love them. And I did some layers. I did do layers, and I did washes and wet into wet and all that. No damage to the paper. Nothing happened. Everything's wonderful. It held up beautifully. So I have no problem. As a matter of fact, I did use a little bit of a lifting, and they are easy to lift. So that's good. They say easy to lift, but I wanted to test it. So there's one section on the Mudman. I don't know if I recorded it when I put it in the painting, but there's a little spot where I got some color that I didn't want. I just went in there, lightened it up, and dabbed it with a paper towel, just a dab, and it came right up. And I thought, well, that's very good. That's wonderful. So, and now you can check out whatever I said in these clips right here. I'm sure I made a fool of myself. I usually do. It's a habit. I have to, I keep doing it. That's all. Pen. So I use the the Pentel Aqua. Okay, so this is the cold press, and the cold press of the watercolor sketchbook. So I'll do something on the first page. No, I'm not. That's not. You can't do something on the first page. It's just a cover sheet. I'll do something on the second page, which is the first page that you can actually paint on. All right, we'll skip that. Hold on. I'll cut that out. So the back, oh, there's sparkles in it? No, there's not. All right, don't panic. It's not coming off on my hand. It's just like sparkles in the cover. Yeah, there's like a sparkly, all right. It's probably just like a plastic or something in the bind. Okay, we're okay. We're safe. Don't anybody worry about it. Did I mention these were cotton? I don't know if I mentioned they were cotton. They are cotton. Oh, did I read this? Did I read this thing? I might have read the thing. All right, if I read the thing, then go back and cut what I'm about to do out. If you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. All right, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one.